just a minute when we go to my 5 focus things I have to do in ministry while being here. But I can tell you that 2025 church-wide goals are continued healing and unity within the church, focus on building restoration projects, continue to build mastery in all ministries, continue to focus on spiritual growth within the congregation, to continue to focus on the spiritual growth within the congregation. Um, as we focus on that spiritual growth, these will come in line with some of the books we recommend, some of the organizational skills or charts that we will go through to get where we need to be. And during that time, we're going to do this together. We're going to help shape your goals and your specific goals and specific activities for the year. We're going to do that together. And by the time we get it done, then you'll be ready for your next phase, and that which is the last phase, and that is going into selecting of a pastor. So that's what we are hoping to get you from. By the time it's all said and done, we hope that you can formulate the goals that you need, that make the church, keep the church going forward, get it all together. It's going to take a lot of sit down and talk about and a lot of mapping and those kind of things, but we'll do it and come to the get all our goals in line, and from there we will give you an update as we go. But to talk about where we are now, with 5 different, I came here with an interim pastor stage. There are 5 different stages that I have to go through, and number one, I've been trained to do that by IPM, to follow their model. It's not my model; it's their model, and I agree with the model. It's been a 25-year model that has been very successful, and not only do I follow it, but I'm coached on it every Tuesday. I have a coach that calls me and do a check-in with me every Tuesday morning, and we got to make sure that we're on track for getting it done. Now, does that mean that things cannot deviate somewhat? Well, they can, but I can't get too far off track, because if I get too far off track, then I'm not no longer an IPM minister. I become my own thing, and I'm not going to do that. I want to do what the IPM sent me here to do, to be the interim pastor in between. So in other words, I can do everything that a pastor can do. Like, that's what I came here to do. I came here to be a pastor until you get a pastor. I'm the bridge pastor, you can call me that, until the pastor can come. But I have to come into this focus knowing that I'm not the one that's going to be the pastor, okay? I'm the one to help you get to that place of appointing or selecting a pastor. That's what interim pastor ministers mean. Now, and I say I've talked to a lot of people, and I've got a lot of things from y'all, a lot of ideas, a lot of sketches in my. I don't like to call what we've been doing meetings. I call them conversations. We've had our conversations. In the conversations, I've learned a whole lot from you. I've learned a lot about. Y'all got a lot of great ideas, what you want to do. You know, somebody want to do this, somebody want to be with it, somebody want to do that, somebody needs to do that. You got good ideas. It's just a matter now of coming together and putting it all together and focusing on who we are and whose we are and where we are headed. Because the bottom line is, knowing, I've had a chance to go back and look at some history, and that's one of the first things I had to do. If you in my 5 phases, the first phase is connect with the people, and that is connecting with your history, why you was established from the beginning, why you came into being, and who founded the church and how the church was planted, those kind of things, or if it was planted, those kind of things. So we've had a chance to go through, been afforded with some great opportunities about how the church came about and about where the church is right now. So that's a part of connecting, is understanding the history, and we've had a chance to do that. And now we are still, I want to say 40 to 50 conversations somewhere in that land that we've had over the last couple of weeks. A lot of them in person, many of them by Zoom. But the bottom line is the conversation. I appreciate the conversation that we've had with you, and it gives me a better picture of understanding why they tell me the first thing I got to do is connect with the people. Even before I even come preaching, I got to connect with the people. Why do I connect with the people? So I can get to know where you are and what your needs are as far as preaching. And that's the reason why I came and I did Psalms, because I figured that's was a starting point for us. And going from that, we would get to know each other better just by using the Psalms, because it's something you're familiar with, something you've been through. I didn't come here trying to confuse anybody with any theological this and that. I came here just to preach and to get us on one accord. Okay? So we gave you that series. I could kind of give you direction where we're headed. We're already working on the next one, which will be, we'll go from the Psalms to leadership. We'll go to Nehemiah. That's where we're going next. And we'll do some probably 6, 7 sermons. We're going to probably finish with 6, maybe 7 from Psalms, and then do the same thing. We're not going to try to take them long term, because I could take Nehemiah and probably preach most of it for a year from it, but I'm not going to be here that long to do that. So I'm not going to have time to develop that many themes. And I say I'm not going to be here that long. I don't know what God's going to do. Okay, let me rephrase that, because I didn't have no idea God would have me here. Okay, at the end of last year, I had an idea that I knew I was in IPM, but I didn't know I would be in Cincinnati. I thought maybe Chicago or somewhere like that. And matter of fact, I've done some stuff over there, but maybe somewhere. I signed up for Midwest and for also international as well. So I could be here in Cincinnati this year, could be in Kenya next year, bottom line. But that's what I signed up for, to try to come and bring the church to a place where you can actually call a pastor. I don't have to even tell you, I'm not going to even go through all the stuff that could happen during the transition period. But I had to come and connect with you first to see where you really was. It's one thing to see something on paper, but it's something else to see it and to get an understanding for yourself. So I'm still in the process of connecting. We've been at it for 4 weeks. Usually this process takes about 6 weeks to finish that. At least get to a point where we can give you next steps. So we are kind of at a point where we can say some next steps. I'll give you next steps as far as sermon preparation, as far as going from Psalms into Nehemiah. But some other things we'll be suggesting is the different kinds of books and workshops and stuff we'll do in order for us to get to that place where we need to be. Some of these conversations, some have been challenging, some have been hard, but that's a part of it. And that's why it's encouraging to me to see that you're willing to talk, just talk. And you're talking to somebody, you didn't know me from James. Well, I don't know who James is either, but you didn't know me. It's just so, you come in, you feel free to talk to me, and I feel like I'm hoping that you trusted me enough to talk to me and to know that anytime we talk like that, I establish what is called a safe house. So you can feel free in talking to me, and knowing that I'm not the kind of person going to get up here before everybody right here and tell you that Sister Jane told me this, Brother John told me, that's not me. That's not why I'm here. My thing is to find out the health of the church, and then from that, give you the next steps. Now, some conversations will have to maybe be turned up just a notch. When I say turn up, there may be a little bit more, should I say, I don't want to say friction, because friction, it will be some other things that have to come out, and there will be some more friction, should I say that. When I say friction, it's the striking together of people with different ideas or different suggestions. So there will be some striking together. But we're going to push to get those resolved, those issues resolved. Some things I may have to back up and say, well, wait a minute, maybe we should have done that this way. Because I didn't come here as no expert, okay? Well, I came here as a professional. I am a pastor of over 40 years, but I'm professionally trained as well. So whether you want to call it an expert, I'm not an expert. In other words, when I say I'm not an expert, I don't know everything. Matter of fact, I made when I talked about the sheep being nearsighted, somebody corrected me and said, no, they farsighted. And I said, no, I saw they nearsighted. Then I thought about it, so maybe I need to go back and look at that again. and the sheep are farsighted. Peripheral vision. I may mention the peripheral vision, but I said farsighted rather than nearsighted. I said nearsighted rather than farsighted. But anyway, I am to be corrected. I'm the first one to say, hey, I made a mistake. You know, if I realize I made a mistake, I made it. And I made some mistakes. Coming in, maybe landing, didn't approach certain situations, maybe in a way that some of you would expect it, or some other people may have expected me to. But I came in directly, listening to the voice of God, not knowing you, and you not knowing me, and we had a conversation. And the Lord have opened a lot of doors. We found out a whole lot. And so that is the beginning. The first phase is connect with the people. Then next phase, we're going to assessing the health of the church. After the conversation we've had with Barris one, we will assess the health of the church, see what the church really is, and see where we really need to go, because we got to really understand who we are before we go to that next step. And that next step would actually, we would start being involved in setting our goals and our values. But before we get that, we got to really look at the health. How healthy are we? And what do we need to do to get healthy? If we're not healthy, what we need to do to get healthy? What can we do? And that's where some books like Good to Great or Peacemakers, I'm just throwing these books out because many of you already have these books, but some other things that will be shared with you, they'll be coming from places like that, and from other material we have from interim pastor ministry. We'll do some different assessments with that as well. So connecting with the people, assess the health of the church, and then next thing is facilitate action. Now, what do we do after what we found out? That's when we come, and we have to come to a place that leadership can come together, and we can look at the goals and the values of what we've had and where God is leading us to go right now. I think that's so important where God is leading us to go right now as we facilitate the action. So in doing that, that's when we had to come up with our plan. Here's our goals right here. What is the goal of River Life Church? And we list our goals. Then we say, how do we get there? You know, and that's because I know you've had things that you had in the past, and that's the reason why I'm going to walk alongside of you. Maybe not take what you've had and try to take it. I'm going to try to help you fix it up. Make it that everybody can agree on it. Now, notice I said when everybody can agree on it. Everybody in this church is important. Every conversation I have is important. And your opinion matters. That's why I open it up. Not only can you call Lacey to get on my schedule, but you can just go on and get on yourself, not myself. You can go there yourself and get it and check it out. And certainly next week is going to be I'll be in person and Zoom. I always offer those options. The week after that, I may be Zoom only, but next week is in person and Zoom. I'll be available next week if you want to get in on that part of it before we go to the next step. So we're getting ready to start the facilitate action, and one of the first action items will be developing that strategic planning. You know, and that involves some goal setting, and that involves every phase of this church. What do we want to see happen in the next 2 years? What do we want to look like in the next 5 years? In the next 10 years? I talked about that long range planning. It begins with one step, so that's what we're going to hear right there. One step. That's what God is leading us to go to the next direction. And that's what I came in to do, help lead you that way. And once we have developed that strategic plan, then the last step is coach you, help you to find a new pastor, find a pastor. Now that IPM steps is in the gap because a pastoral search can be a really daunting task, should I say. I hope I use the right word. It can be a great task because, number one, it's going to determine what kind of pastor you're looking for, what kind of education you want to have. All those things come into play that will come from our strategic planning. And then actually doing a search. You want to do a local search or you want to do a national search? Can that person fit the description that you have that we've come up with from our interim pastor stages? So once we go through that and then pull together a committee, like you had the interim pastor committee, that when they called me and asked me to come, we'll do the same thing with the actual pastoral search committee after we've gone through all this right here. And we've gotten to a good place that we can say, okay, we need everybody to come together and let's start our strategic planning to go forward with what we're looking for. Now, that's normally a. I'm trying to do what you do. It usually take a pastor at least 3 to 5 years to become pastor. Okay, that's in my notice experience over the years. At least 3 to 5 years. I'm trying to do what normally takes 3 to 5 years to do. We're trying to do it in 3 to 5 months. Okay, and that's why I say get to know you and get your head in the direction of calling your next pastor, because that's going to take a minute to actually do a search. It may take a month. It may take 2 months doing that search until you find the person that you want. And that's the goodness of knowing that you got an interim pastor, that I'll be here until the search is complete to make sure it's done. But I want to make sure, first of all, we get you in a good place. And get you in that good place on one accord, realize that we're better together, and we're headed from there. All right? Bless you.
Charles, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go up here with my notes. It's like a sheep. I am farsighted. When I put these glasses on, I'm extremely nearsighted. Thank you, Pastor. Um, we're going to go over the agenda now. Yeah. So we're going to do the church vision, which Pastor Billy has already done. Then we're going to review the challenges and the highlights from the past year. Then the ministry leaders will come up and review um, their year. And then Vernon will go over the actual budget, how we did. And Chris will be up to present the new budget for 2025. And then we'll have some question and answer time and a vote. We'll just vote by a show of hands for the new budget. My hope is that in this meeting we will see God's providence and his faithfulness that he has had to this church. Okay, the next slide is the goals from last year. To expand the personable touch to each member through the deacon ministry. And then continue our efforts in the area of discipleship for both the men and the women. And then we said to continue to evaluate the capital projects that were coming down the line. To create and develop ministries that will support and sustain us in our journey here at ROL. Okay, next was the challenges. Or was there an attendance that I missed? Attendance. Okay. Some of the key numbers that we have about 9 viewers online for the live stream every Sunday, and about 15 children in the Sunday school, and almost 80 for worship service. And that gives us over 100 attendees every Sunday, putting us over, that's a 10% increase from 2023. Isn't that God? Growing the church when we're in hardship. Okay, now to the challenges. We had rain damage about a year ago. Cost us $37,000. It was not covered by insurance. We had the resignation of our senior pastor and the continual remediation of bed bugs that we've had in the facility. And we all know there are many more challenges that we faced. But I'm reminded of an old hymn. One verse of it says, "Ye fearful saints, fresh courage take. The clouds you so much dread are big with mercy and shall break." with blessings on your head. God is faithful. Let's go to some highlights now for the year. The deacon ministry is up and running. Pastor Alvin assumed pulpit duties, and we were blessed by him and to have so many other ministers and lay people who filled in where they were needed. We did the new men and women's restroom facilities, and that was no small undertaking, if you remember. And that was thanks to a large donation. We did VBS, a successful VBS, and the River Youth Summer Retreat. We're very blessed by our children and our youth ministries, and you will get to hear from them in just a bit. We served over 1,600 guests at Faith Food Pantry. Yeah, and that was just a lot of volunteers. Brian and Paul every weekend. Yeah, that's a really big deal. 4 new ministries were started, and we had 3 children dedicated to the Lord last year. Next page of review. Successful men and women's retreats. Successful Thanksgiving meal and basket handout, 75 boxes in all. A successful Christmas family sharing, the largest that we ever did, 35 children and 16 adults. Successful Christmas movie night. And also the successful training of ministry leaders on the budget process. And that was no small undertaking either. A lot. Big thanks to Scott. And a major donation to the food pantry. $60,000 donation to the food pantry. And I will end with Hebrews 10:23, and it says, "Let us hold unswervingly to the hope that we profess, for he who promised is faithful." Vernon.
Good afternoon, River of Life. These are the ministries that we have at River of Life, and we're blessed to have started 4 new ministries. The elders have divided up the ministries, and we have assigned them to each one of us. As you can see, there are some that say TBD, and we are looking and asking, we need your help. An example, 3 months ago, we asked for someone to help with the building ministry. And we really need help on that. There are things that are needed, such as roofing, tuck pointing, painting, carpeting, replacing of the flooring in the food pantry area. There is a lot of work. And you don't have to be a carpenter. You don't have to be an electrician. What you have to be able to do is be able to just talk with contractors, see what best prices are, things of that nature. Start off small, and then we'll work big. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to our church, and it's not going away. So we need to tackle that. We're also looking at the evangelists as well, too, to be able to reach out to the community. We have a community that is in need. And one of the things that we do in the food pantry is that we supply them substance, but we also encourage them. We also give them a word. There are some of us who will drive them home. There are some people who will come, and they're at all states of need. And so we are looking for an evangelist ministry to help along with the food pantry, to take that on, find out where people are and where the needs are. So if that is your calling, if the building ministry, or if any of the existing ones are your calling, all of the ministries need your help. Okay? Next slide. Sam and Stephanie.
What's good, everybody? Hello. Pastor Stephanie and I have had the privilege of serving here for the past 7 years, and we are very thankful that we were able to have a very successful 2024. A couple of things that we did last year. We had our monthly Sam House hangs. For those that don't know, we have the kids over our house monthly, once a month, because our poor apartment can only take that. We've got a couple scratches on the wall. I'm not going to say whose kid it was. But we have them over our house. Usually they're themed, and the kids tend to really enjoy it. It's just a time for fellowship with them. We also completed our Fruits of the Spirit series, which is one that we studied from, August of 2023 all the way through to July of 2024. Really getting into what are the fruits of the Spirit, why are they important, why do we need to have them in our lives. And it culminated in our retreat where we took the kids up to Toledo, Ohio. There's a little retreat center up there where we got to do some devotionals, focus on some spiritual discipline, but also got to play volleyball and tag and all the fun stuff up there, eat some s'mores. And then coming back from there, we started our series on anxiety, which is what we're in right now, which will carry us probably through to our trip this year, should the Lord will it.
So looking forward to 2025, we're really excited that we've decided to take our second service trip back to Memphis. This was really impactful when we did it 2 years ago, and we are really excited to continue just harnessing the relationships that we were able to build there. And we are so lucky to have our students already so embedded in the church, so good at serving, and so to be able to bless other churches and other ministries in another part of the country with their gifts. We are intending on holding our annual end of school and back to school bash, which the students tend to really enjoy. It was a memory that I had from youth group and that I really enjoyed, and they're actually swimming in the same pool that I used to when I was their age, so that's very cool. We have, a couple years ago, started to use the church parking lot as parking for the FC Cincinnati games as a way to make money for the youth trip and the other things we do. So we try to keep everything we do either low cost or no cost, so that every student feels that they are welcome to attend. In the past, this has mostly been Sam and I showing up a couple hours before the game. And this year we would really like to rely on the church to help us with that so that we do not have to be at every single game, just the two of us. It's usually like a 45-minute commitment. We charge between $10 and $20 for parking based on how popular the game's gonna be. And it has helped us keep everything basically no cost for the last 2-3 years. There has been some help from our parents. And then our new goal this year is that we would like to start holding one-on-one sessions with our students who are new to the youth group. So when Sam and I started this 5 years ago, we on average had 5 students, and it was really easy to build really close relationships with them. Students who we've now been able to see go all the way through college. I was really lucky last 2 weeks ago, Dominic Alley called me to help him with some internship applications. And that was a really cool manifestation of that relationship that we had built. But now we have new students who are entering middle school for the first time, who have not had the same connection with us. And so we would really like to start just spending one-on-one time with them, doing the things that they enjoy so that they can get to know the two of us on a personal level and build those same relationships. So that is a new goal that we have for this year.
No, that's it.
Okay, we're good. All right. So I'm Josh Kinderman. I am one of the men's ministry leaders. Rob Joy is another excellent leader that we have on the team. And the two that are not here would be Dave Boster and Josh Cochran. So I'll speak on behalf of Josh Cochran since he isn't here. But Josh is in charge of prayer surrounding just the men's ministry. And so we started last year. He has been leading a morning prayer on Fridays at 6 in the morning. He's a doctor, so he gets up early. And there was a lot of other people that said that they would join the call as well that early. Me, one of them, and I've only been on one, admittedly. But it's a good time. We are really trying to focus on prayer, just as the men's ministry, and just really gathering together, hearing just what we as men need prayer for, as a way of continuing to build community together. It's just hearing each other's hearts, and that is one way we're doing it. I myself am over just the social gathering aspect of the men's ministry, and we have had 2 gatherings so far since we've started the ministry, and they have both been us consisting of just meeting in somebody's home, sharing a meal, watching a football game, but just really creating, my desire is just creating an environment where guys can just get together and just talk about life, to just laugh together. As we are doing these Bible studies, these small conversations turn into theological conversations. We've had some good discussions as part of the retreat that weren't even associated with the topic at the retreat, but just there is a community that we have here as the men, and I just pray that we continue that throughout 2025, and I think that's our desire.
Hey guys, Rob, in case you don't know. Before talking a little bit about this, just gonna say to y'all, be in prayer for my family. My uncle went home to the Lord this week, and thank you for the beautiful worship, because just being in worship this morning and getting this picture of my dad welcoming my brother into the arms of the Lord, it's beautiful and powerful. So thank you all. As far as Bible study, we've been in the Lord's Prayer, and we've had a great time in the Lord's Prayer. I believe the next study we're going to do is there's a villain in your story. It's just about Ephesians and how important it is to put on the whole armor of God. What I will say to you guys is it's a time of fellowship as much as it is a time of learning about the Lord. I know that Crystal's brother has had a stroke. I know another brother is going through something else. I know that Steve's co-workers were let go, and how much that hurt. I know about Clarence's vision of why he's here in Cincinnati and how beautiful that was. I know about Chris and how much he loves Kate. And yeah, I see, that's right, Kate. And David, not to leave you out, David. I know that Chad's gone through some stuff at work, and that he's buying a new house and moving on to 10 acres, so party at the farm at some point. I know that Chris and Betty, as we all do, are going through some stuff, but I also hear about, Brianna and her back and things that are going on in their lives. I know that Luke travels for work and has to deal with people from all over the world and different cultures and the challenges of that. So these are some of the stories. I know that Charles is interacting with someone from Kenya, and that is beautiful, like watching what's going on with Charles. And I know that my brother here is going to Maine. If you didn't know that, what a hit for us all, right? I did ask him if I could out him, Well, we need to be in prayer for them, right? Like that's a big change. I come from a rural community. He's never been out there, so he's going to need some prayer through that. And this is what we're doing in Bible study is we're building relationships and we're getting to know each other as we get to know the Lord. So thank you for your time. And last note on this, we need a new person here, for all the social stuff that Josh is doing. And to follow up on what Vernon said, what we really need is 2 people every single week to get on the roof. It's not hard. It's just we got to get people signed up. Let's get 2 by 2, go up there with a friend. You take a bag, you take the leaves off. Most of the damage, most of the things that are happening in here are because it rains hard and we didn't get the leaves out of the gutters. It's that simple. So we need people to sign up to get the leaves off of the roof. I think that's probably said too much, went too long, but that's what I have for y'all today. Oh, lastly, we're printing out the pamphlets. Like, you don't have to come to Wednesday night or Saturday morning to do these studies. Do the study. Talk to other people in the church about what God's teaching you through this study. There's 8 or 10 of them sitting there the next week, so pick them up. If they're all gone, Lacey will print more. So please join us in the studies. Thank you.
Hello. I think I know everybody, so I don't have to say my name. That makes me happy. So I'm going to be doing the update for the women's ministry, and Geneva is the leader of the prayer team. She's on a beach, which is really rude. So I'm going to do their update as well. So first off is women's ministry, and some of you don't know who all is on the women's ministry, so if you guys could stand up. We've got Crystal, we've got Rochelle, we've got Latoya, we've got Miss Laura, and also Jen Osborne, who isn't here. So we are the ladies that serve on the women's ministry. So for last year, we one of the new things that we did, we introduced our quarterly Connect events, and those have been really great. The whole purpose of those was just to have a time of fellowship, to hang out, to get to know one another, and a time that we don't have to bring food. It's just here, and we just get to enjoy it. So we introduced that. We completed 4 Bible studies. Crystal is the leader of our Bible study team, and she is just killing it. I've probably said this to most of you, but I'll say it again. If you didn't come to the How to Study the Bible series, you really missed out. And I'm asking her to please consider doing it again this year or expanding on that, because it was just awesome. So we did the 4 studies, and then we also were involved with the church-wide studies with the men as well. Jen joined the team last year, and I moved into the lead role. So Miranda decided she was going to go be with her family, which was also really rude. And so you guys are stuck with me. I'm sorry. We had our 2024 women's retreat, so that was our Soul Conversations retreat. We got to hear from 3 different women within the church and just make a lot of connections that were really great. We had 23 women attend our retreat, and we added in a second night. If you didn't come for the second night, we're going to do it again this year, and you should really join us because it was great. We had our 4th annual women's paint night, and we also had our ladies' tea event. Both of those are just great events, and I hope it's okay to share this, team. We didn't talk about this earlier, but we are having our ladies' tea this year again. That's going to be on April 12th, so that's coming up. We will be sending out a save the date next week. Super excited about that. We've also had potluck nights, so we did kind of slow down the potlucks. We were having them every single month, and that just gets to be a bit, especially when we've got all these other things going on. So we've moved those to approximately once a quarter. We did chair aerobics. So that one I wasn't walking at the time, so I missed that one. But the Lord Ward night, we did blessing bags where we prepared bags to pass out to people in need. We also did a VBS prep night, which we're going to try to continue this year, which is to help with decorations and preparing for VBS. It's a huge blessing to the VBS team. And if Marla doesn't ask about VBS help, I will. If you are artistic and like decorations, that we could use your help. We could use teachers, all sorts of things, so please discuss that, Marla. And we also had some Saturday morning walks, so those are some of the things that we did in women's ministry last year. And for our goals, So 2025 Women's Ministry Goals, we would like to continue our regular Bible study and have different teaching opportunities. So we want to learn, we want to continue to grow. We are going to stick with our scheduling rhythm. So we have gotten pretty consistent with our scheduling, which is one thing that people have asked, and I appreciate it too. So we are having our quarterly connects, obviously, once a quarter. Those are on Sunday after service. We are going to continue with annual events that we've been having around the same time. So we're going to stick with that first weekend in September for the retreat, in April, our tea, December, paint nights, things like that. So we're going to stick with those. Our potlucks are going to be approximately once a quarter. So we're trying to get our schedule and be able to just share that with everybody. We also want to explore new retreat location options. So that's some of the feedback that we've gotten over the years. We love us some Bergamo, but women are women, and we also like other things. So we are excited about that. We're actually hopefully touring just in the coming week some different location options. So men, we will let you know how that goes. We're excited about it. And also, while Miss Teresa's here, we just want to glean as much as possible. We know that the Lord has ordained both Teresa and Billy to be here, and she's got a ton of experience, so we would love to just get to learn from her while she's here. So that is the women's ministry for this year. So next up, I will be talking about the prayer team. So it's kind of, well, I guess you can see it. So members of the prayer team, you can read those there. Thank you guys so much for serving in that role. It's been such a blessing for me to get to just witness and be involved with the meetings and all the things that they're doing, and just knowing that that group of people is here to serve in that way. So every single Sunday, they were able to pray. We've got people on both sides. We've got men, we've got women. We did expand the team in 2024, so we added a couple of different members. And one of the things that the team had been praying for was establishing a leader, and that has been finalized. So Geneva Clark, she is now the leader of the prayer team, and she's super excited. I had a very long but very fruitful conversation with her last week. She's very excited to lead in this role and just to lead the church in prayer in general. So that's 2024, and we can move on to their goals. So the goals for next year, if you've prayed with the prayer team or if you're on the prayer team, we have a prayer card that we developed kind of early on in the prayer team process. So we're going to utilize those a little bit more. One of the things that Geneva would like to do is actually to kind of keep track of, hey, how many different people did we pray with? How many times do we pray? Or are there certain themes, things like that? Because it's just a blessing to be able to look back later on in the year and see how God has worked and how he's been able to use the team. So we're going to utilize those. We may edit those and add a couple of things, but we're just excited to really be intentional and track some of that. Your personal information will not be on there, so don't be worried about that. But just to look at the ways that God has shown up here at River of Life. We would also like to offer quarterly corporate leadership prayer times led by the prayer team. So Geneva wants to work with all of the leadership and just be very intentional about praying for our church. I love that the men, the women have talked about different prayer opportunities, so it's really cool to see how that theme is kind of being woven throughout the church. Geneva would also like to seek out a co-leader, someone who is willing to work with her and with some of the roles for the lead position. So we're praying for that, and as well as having others from the church join the prayer team. If prayer is a gift that you have been given by God, please speak up to somebody on the prayer team. I can say firsthand what a blessing it is just to witness the team and all that they've been doing. It doesn't require a lot of commitment. You come on Sunday, you're probably here on Sunday anyway, and you get to stand off at the side and just pray for our community. So if that's something you're interested in, please talk to myself, and I can pass it on to Geneva, or talk to Geneva or someone else on the team. And then also, she wants to schedule prayer team meetings and trainings quarterly, with the exception of, life. If life happens, we may need to schedule a pop-up. If there's something specific going on, she's open to doing that. So the prayer team is doing lots of great things. And that is all. Now you get to hear from Marla.
All right, children's ministry. First of all, children's ministry would not be what it is without the children, and especially the volunteers. So thank you so much to all who are involved and volunteering in the children's ministry. We have been fully staffed in all the classrooms, so that's 3 classrooms, so basically 4 volunteers volunteering once a month in all 3 classrooms, so that is wonderful. And I'm going to pass this off. Chad and I are going to kind of rotate.
Okay, so we've increased attendance this year. So we're seeing a lot more kids, which is awesome. So it's with the outreach events, we encourage, that's where we need some help, I think, this year, is trying to get more kids from the community into the church, which, goes back to their parents, trying to reach out to parents and the children. So that's not an easy thing to do. We see more ideas, more time. It's kind of a heavy lift there to do. And then going to the curriculum, we're still working through Answers in Genesis. This is a 4-year curriculum where we're working through the books of the Bible chronologically. We kind of went there was a foundation that was laid with some of the principles of the faith, and then now we're working through that. It is a long journey. I know it's not a perfect curriculum, but I think there's a lot of things that we feel are important for the kids, and it lays a good foundation, and especially for the 3 to 6. It's teaching them in the room. We encourage parents to during the middle of the week to go over these stories again, continue to teach your children, because it's not just Sunday mornings. We need help, encourage other parents and you guys to continue to go over the principles of the faith and the scripture at home. So that's a big thing. And then the 7, it's not 7, it's 9 to 13. So I get the age groups all mixed up. 9 to 12. It's the same thing, but just a little bit more in depth. But here, we're getting in with the kids that they're getting to a stage where they can read now. So they need to be praying themselves. They need to be in the Word themselves. They can start doing that. So we need help for the parents. Encourage your kids to get in the Word themselves now. They're at that age. They need to be memorizing Scripture. Help them memorize Scripture. We're encouraging them in class to do these things. So we're trying to stay really close to the Scripture and not stray from that, because we think that's our goal as believers, is to know God. And so our heart is that they know God for themselves, and they can start filtering what they see in our community and society through the lens of Scripture. So we're hitting this hard, and we're trying to stay close to that. So.
I'll have you hold this up. And also to kind of go off of that, as Chad said, it's a 4-year teach through the Bible, and we are currently in Exodus. So that is how far we are. Actually, we're still on that. We did Vacation Bible School in 2024. The theme was Jungle Journey, and it was the 7 C's of history, which you see right here. We averaged 15 to 16 children per night, which was pretty good, up from the year prior. And special thanks to Crystal and Lacey for all their help, and all the volunteers. Of course, VBS would not happen without volunteers, as is the case in anything in children's ministry. So thank you so much to all who helped. And also this year we had our first Christmas caroling day in December. Thank you so much to Crystal. That was wonderful. And Michelle. I think that was very much your idea. Thank you for putting that together. It was loved by all. All right, now our goals for 2025. We're good on that. To continue to remain staffed with our volunteers in the classrooms, but we would love to rotate in new volunteers. So if anyone feels not, I would say led, but sometimes it's not even that. We just need, we sometimes, some people need a break. We've had a lot of people teaching for many years, and sometimes they need a break. So we just sometimes need new people to step in, and we would love to rotate in some new volunteers. So yes, come see me if you are at all even remotely interested, even if it's in with administrative type of stuff, scheduling, buying snacks, cleaning, things like that. Do you want to say anything? Okay. Yeah, so see me. We would love to have some new volunteers. And VBS for this year. We are in our 4th year of VBS. Okay, this one.
Let me hold this one.
Yeah, just the. We are planning our 4th year of VBS. It's called Wonder Junction, and it's the first week of June, and we're going to need volunteers for that as well. And it's Marvel at Jesus, Live for His Glory is what it is. So we're very excited for that. We need volunteers, as I said. This is just the heartbeat of children's ministry. So see me, see Crystal. We would love to have you. Thanks.
I'm not volunteering, but I'm here representing Miss Lacey, Miss Gail, as the Benevolence team. Now, we just started, the 3 of us just started like towards the end of the year last year. So don't have a lot to do with what went on, but just to report that we spent just over $15,000 last year in benevolence. And that's, again, helping our church family in times of crisis, in times of just a shortfall in more bills than income. So that's what we're here for, again, to focus on our church family. And last year we spent money on counseling, housing, utilities, helping with bereavement stuff, and food, just other expenses that came up. So again, our church family, we're looking out for each other. This year, the goals for this year is just to be just aware of the situations that come up. We've established a procedure for people needing help. So again, we don't hand out money. We don't have money to hand out. We don't keep cash here. But if you have a bill that needs to be paid, you don't have the money right then. We have a process where you turn in a written request, we evaluate what we can do, and then we'll send a request to Scott for a payment. And again, we're here to help where we can. That's it.
Good afternoon, River of Life. For those who do not know who I am, my name is Paul Graves, and I'm a deacon here at the church, and I'm a constant or regular volunteer at the food pantry with Brian. A couple weeks ago, I got to speak to the church when I led the church in prayer. And after I led the church in prayer, I spoke about the pantry needing help in the back. This past month, I took off from serving in the church pantry because I had mentally got burnt out. I had been serving in the pantry since September of 2016. And until I took the past 28 days off, within that time period, I was here every Saturday, and at most, I might have missed 10 days since September 2016. For the membership of our church, the size of it, we are great in serving this community that's around this church. I'm originally from Youngstown, Ohio. And the church that I came from was a mega church. This church whips that church and what this church does for the community that's around it. Giving out food to the neighborhood, that didn't happen. I love this church. I'll be coming back to the pantry this coming Saturday after taking February off. And my hope is, and my constant prayer is coming back with a renewed spirit of serving and helping people and being a follower of Christ, and people hopefully seeing that in me. And they will also eventually be touched where they will also want to follow Christ. I didn't know I was going to be speaking this morning until last night. This right here is what we have as far as a reflection of what took place for 2024 for the church, or how things have increased as far as people coming to the church to receive food on Saturday mornings. I think one of the big things, the two big things that stand out for me is the money that was raised for the hunger walk, and then also the $60,000 grant that we got for the food pantry last year. Now, the understanding that I've received is that $60,000, first of all, we have a van that's over 20 years old that we use to go and pick up the food from the warehouse, that we bring the food back here to the church. The understanding that I've got that we're going to be receiving part of it, or using part of that $60,000 to get a new van for the transporting of the food. But also we're going to be doing some improvements in the back. If you could bring up the next slide. Brian plans on building new tables in the back to create more of a better serving area that's presentable for when people come in. It's more like you're truly being in a store as you select your food. So he plans on building some wooden stands that are real sturdy, that the food is going to be sitting upon as the people go through to get their food. Of course, everyone, the hunger walk is going to be coming up. And if we could match or get even more than $1,000 for this coming year to go toward the food pantry, that would be great. And for those, that doesn't mean that you have to participate in the hunger walk, but the big thing is the donations that go toward that to buy food for our pantry. And that's all that I have for you all. And Oscar is next. Thank you.
Hi. Please, worship members and media, can you please stand up? Latoya, Casey, Sam, Hannah, Josh, Alisa, Tiara, Ed. You three are always standing up, so I'm gonna ask you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. I'm very grateful of all of you. Also, Bill Buckley. I see you. Jen, I see you. Jess, I see you. This is our one page. We have done live stream. We have a dedicated team of volunteers, and our goals are special holiday worship services, Easter and Christmas. That's very brief. The worship team knows that if I start speaking by my heart, it's gonna be like another hour here, so I rather to write. So I wrote down what I wanted to say, okay? Buenas tardes, familia of River of Life. Thank you for being here for your community. I'm Oscar Salamanca, came to Cincinnati in 2013, bass player of River of Life since 2016, worship leader since 2017, a member of the church since 2018. The worship team has achieved beautiful goals in the past 9 years, and I had the opportunity of witness it and participate actively with you all. We have plenty of goals for this year, however, and I am speaking here as a member, Oscar, not a leader. I believe it is irresponsible to make these kind of decisions of budget or others without addressing first ongoing issues that have been happening for a while now. I'm not quitting. In fact, I'm here because of love to my church, my community, and my family. I made the decision of continuing worshiping, but I won't vote or participate in any other meeting until we address these ongoing situations with all the leaders of the church. My vote might not signify much on today's decision, but it can work as a catalyst for action. My reasons are valid, and for sake of our church healing and growth, I exhort us to address our issues before making decisions in the blind. Gracias. Next. Rachel, I think it's you.
Good afternoon, River of Life. I'm Rochelle Buckley. For those of you who don't know, I am representing, what's it called now? The new member orientation or the new members discipleship ministry, either or. I am representing myself as on the team, Rob, Bill Buckley, my husband, and Dave Foster, who are not here today. We don't have a slide on what we did last year because actually we're just starting this year. Well, we were building a lot of last year. But in January, we had our first event, which was an Explore, which allowed people who are interested in becoming members to learn more about River of Life. I'm happy to announce they all decided to become members, so we will be presenting 6 new members in the near future. God bless. And another part that we're doing, which is kind of new, is welcoming them to River of Life, which we'll be holding in the next month or so. Now, our future goals are to increase the number of people on this wonderful team. We're open. Consistently and effectively identifying visitors and engaging with them and offering them timely opportunities to learn about the local body of Christ at River of Life, which means holding Explore, if not monthly, every other month, or as the need presents. Maintaining a clear and effective path to becoming an informed, knowledgeable member of River of Life, which is a transition that goes from Explore to the elders, answering questions and helping them to welcome. That's a path we're hoping to just continue to move forward with. Offering new members opportunities to have a spiritual gifts assessment, share opportunities in current ministries to join Bible study offerings, service opportunities, and prayer opportunities. That was a lot to say that At Welcome, people will learn about the various ministries that we are sharing about, and I will be reaching out to some of you because I still need some pictures for these slides and bios. And lastly, but probably that holds the largest part of our hearts as a team, is developing, identifying and developing a discipleship model that cultivates individual and whole body growth as we walk together through the sanctification process, developing us into Christ followers and imitators, i.e. we're working on a discipleship path for the church. And hopefully, sometime in the near future, we'll be presenting that. Thank you, and Dante's, I think, next.
Good afternoon. Dante, the deacon leader. Before I start, I want to say that I got a little quote for you guys. Church leadership is not about being in charge. It's about being a servant who leads others towards spiritual growth and unity in Christ. So something we've done this year, we have finalized the training that we were ordained to do, and you guys have a church full of wonderful deacons who have been making phone calls, sending text messages, emails, just reaching out to people, talking to people, scheduling lunches, just bringing people together and connecting. That goes over the first and the second point, apparently. Look at that. We've worked together to assist Charlie getting back to church when he was with us. It was great to see Charlie being in his old apartment, getting transitioned from a very bad living situation to a great one with the help of members here, especially the Dallas family. I got to see Charlie just a little bit before he passed away in his new apartment, up in the towers, up in a good life. And I would like to believe that he was happy in his new living situation, and he was definitely happy coming back to church. Charlie loved River of Life Church. So to everyone who had a little bit to do with that, thank you. Some of the goals for the deacon team in 2025. So we're going to continue the learning of scriptures, biblical principles, and we're going to figure out how to apply those towards everyday life, how to apply those towards talking with members of the congregation, and just overall just focusing on getting better and growing spiritually. Focus on strengthening our leadership skills. That's going to come with the territory. You know, like I said before, a servant leader is somebody who wants to serve first and become a leader. So with that in mind, with biblical principles, with the Bible as our guide, growing as a leader shouldn't be a problem for the deacon team. A fundraiser. It is my understanding that the church needs a little bit of extra money on the top. So we were going to toss around some ideas of a fundraiser like washing cars, maybe leaving our parking lot open for FC people to park, things like that. Something just to bring a little extra money into the church where it's needed at. An outreach event. This is something that also been tossed around a lot from the deacon team, is an outreach event on how to, better serve the community and in-reach also, but more outreach, how to better serve the community and bring those who are already, within 10 miles of this building here to serve and to worship God along with us. And just the continued overseeing of different church operations, different events, different ministries, different things like that. So if you guys need help, reach out to the deacon team. They'll be more than willing to help you. Thanks.
Good afternoon. The first thing I want to do is I want to thank Lacey for tirelessly putting together all of this. She was burning some midnight oil, a lot of phone calls, and you know how we are, you're rallying cats, and you know how that is. The other thing a person I want to thank is Scott, Ellsworth, and Deanna. They have devoted a lot of their time in helping us pull together the budget, training as well too, and they give advice, time, and resources that you don't know about, but they truly support River of Life. So I want to say thank you to them as well too. Well, let's review 2024. God was good to River of Life. And if you look at it from a financial standpoint, the budget was for $296,000. We made $326,000. Now, that doesn't include the food pantry donation whatsoever. But if you look at the highlights on each of the different ministries, and I just took an excerpt, not all the numbers going to total up to, to the 326, but an excerpt of what was influencing that. And you had, as far as the budget goes, you had the ministries, you had the building, and you had the food pantry and the compensation that had played a big role in that. We also spent $5,000 more than what the budget was for the Benevolent too. So God's grace allowed us to be able to do that as well. Next slide. I'm not going to go through each one of these in detail. I just want to give you a highlight. We have our budget divided up in different categories. The events are as far as what we take on men's retreat, women's retreat, things of that nature, total up about $4,700. You look at the food pantry receipts, that does include the $60,000. So a good majority of that is the revenue from there, that donation. Next slide. As far as general fund receipts, you look at the orange, which is where our budget is, and then what the blue is our actuals. We had a nice receipt as far as overall, as I said. We brought in quite a bit of money. Next slide. Now on the expense side, we had bigger expenses well too to match that. If you look at our total compensation, and that includes payout, salaries, things of that nature, insurance, we spent more than the budget on the compensations. And then on the building maintenance, we definitely went over on that. That was from our flood, and that we had a lot of work that needed to be done. And so that's showing up there as well. We were on budget essentially for an adult ministry. And then as far as the office and administration, we were on target there as well. And then on the food pantry for the year, we spent a little bit more than what we budgeted for. Next slide. So when you look at the different ministries, the youth ministry, worship ministry, our utilities, total offices, they were close. Some were higher than others, but they somewhat balanced out as well too. Next slide. And this is just a recap. It's just overall, how did we do? And as I said too, God blessed us. We brought in more. We had more expenditures, and therefore God blessed us to cover those as well too. Next slide. Come on up, Chris.
Thanks, Vernon. And I see a lot of people taking pictures. We do have this in PDF format that Lacey has exported. So if you want to take a break from taking the pictures, if you request, she can send that out to you, I'm sure. So I'll be going over the 2025 budget, and here Vernon gave me a little prop. This is what he found on the roof this week, a couple of bullets. And we've been up there not just for the leaf cleaning, but we've had some roofing companies coming in to look at what we can do to improve the condition of the roof to reduce leaks. And we've had, Vernon's been leading this up. He's had three companies come in, and the last company was the company that originally did the roof 10 years ago. And they're willing to make, even though it's been 10 years already, they're able to make some improvements free of charge. So that's a real blessing. So we're still waiting to get all the details on what they'll do, but we're going to start with them, and then we'll see what additional improvements are necessary. But to go over the full budget, the budget for giving for 2025 is $315,000. So this is about 5% more than the budget in 2024. But you'll notice this is actually less than the giving in 2024. So we're about halfway between what the budget was. The giving was a little over 10% more. So we believe it's a conservative budget. And you can see some of the excerpts. Not everything's going to add up exactly, but you can see that ministry is at $12,200. Retreats are a big item in there. Our biggest area of spending is for compensation and benefits. Building and maintenance and utilities takes up a lot as well. That includes things like repairs, snow removal. There's all these bills that come in every month just for the doors to be open. You can see we have food pantry and missions of $10,500. Office and administration captures a lot of things like our liability insurance, software, accounting, things of that nature. You can see the amounts for worship and student ministry, as well as benevolence. And as Harani mentioned, benevolence increased this year from $10,000 to $15,000. So in 2024, we had a budget of $10,000. We spent $15,000 over budget, and so this year we're budgeting $15,000. So in the midst of this year, we were able to spend more last year, and now we've increased the budget for this year as well. Other expenses we expect in the year, as Paul mentioned, for the food pantry, they have that $60,000 grant that was given last year that's been set aside. So some of that money will be used for the van and other projects that need to be done in the food pantry, and we are going to be spending money on tuck pointing and roof work, and that will be to be decided. But one thing that's new this year is we have some extra money that we're setting aside for capital projects. So instead of just waiting till we have these big expenses and taking the money out of the checking account, we're setting some money off to the side that we expect needs to be spent on some of these repairs. Okay, if we could go to the next slide, please. So now if we could have questions, and then we will have an oral vote for the budget. I know we've had a lot discussed today. If we could keep the questions on the budget, we need to get the budget passed. And then afterwards, if there are additional questions, the elders would be happy to take those. I'm sure Pastor Billy would be happy to talk to you as well. So if we could start with any budget-specific questions. Yes. Mm-hmm. No, I think we're expecting $15,000 is what we'll spend. So we're anticipating to go over. I think the benevolence is a little different than some of the other categories, because since we were over in giving, by the end of the year we could see, hey, we have some extra money, there's some extra needs. We made a kind of a change on the fly. But we don't expect to always go over in benevolence. And if giving, for example, was less than expected, we have a little bit of flexibility there. Yes, Ed? Oh, okay. Sorry, for the audience who's listening at home, the question was, we spent more than our budget on benevolence last year. Are we expecting to spend more than our budget benevolence again? And the answer was no, we're not. But if we have extra money, sometimes we will spend more on benevolence. Other questions about the budget? Yes, Stephen. Not yet. Vernon, do you want to answer for that? Maybe. I'm new at this. The question is, do we have an estimate on the tuck pointing yet? I was in conversation with a tuck pointing company, and they never got back to me with the estimate. So I believe when we talked to the roofer, he believes that the roof is the primary problem, and then so the tuck pointing will be secondary. But Vernon may have something to add.
Yeah. Right now, there are two tuck pointing companies that I've reached out to. I'm trying to get them to come in and look. It's a blessing. Malloy Roofing is the one who done our roof. We're hoping that takes care of it. We're hoping cleaning out the leaves will take care of it. We won't know till it rains. And so that's that's the problem. But we're going to be proactive, and we're going to get people in to look at it. So, yes, there are 2 that's supposed to be coming. I'm waiting on them to give me back that info.
Yes, Casey. Casey. The question is, what is tuck pointing? Vernon will take this one.
You know how when you do bricklaying and you have mortar between the bricks and stuff, over time those come out and they become points of entry for water. They come back and they put the mortar back in and the sealant back in to stop it.
Yes, Ed. Oh, that's a good question. The question is, what are there anticipated expenses for the pastoral search in the budget for 2025? And on the top of my head, I don't know. I don't believe there are. So I'm trying to think what type of recruiting expenses you'd be in terms of having someone fly out, those type of things. No, I don't think so. We are, a little bit lower on our compensation and benefits than last year. So I think, and we do have the money set aside for the capital projects. So I think if there's some flexibility, but no, we don't have budgeted expenses beyond. That's currently just capturing what we're paying to IPM and the other staff members. So that's a good question, Ed. Yes, Rochelle. Okay, so the question is, what are the targets for setting money aside for capital improvements as a percentage of giving? No, right now what it is we look at what the expenses were last year, what we've spent, and what we, if there's changes, for example, utilities are going up, we make adjustments like that. And then if there's money left over relative to our conservative estimate of giving, we're setting that aside for the capital projects. So it's really a matter of, what we have left over, we can set over to the side. But there is a big need. The need for capital improvements is much greater, I would say, than the money that is left over in the budget. Okay. So Rochelle just asked whether we set aside a certain amount of money just in case. We do have a certain buffer in the checking account, and Scott is no longer here. So there's an amount, just like you might have an emergency fund, where when that starts to get low, then we're not going to go over on benevolence, and we're not going to be spending money on capital improvements. So that is the case. I don't know what what our number of percentages off the top of my head. We want a few months to be able to pay the ongoing expenses and salaries. Maybe Vernon can answer.
The target is we try to shoot for 2 to 3 months. It's the ideal. Right now we're at a month and a half right now.
And that's, of course, separate from things like the money for the pantry that's set off to the side. No, the question is it in the budget that a certain amount needs to stay as a buffer? The buffer is not officially in the budget, no. Yes, Carolyn.
I noticed office administration last year was $42,000. It's a little bit lower this year. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, the question is office administration is a little bit lower this year than it was last year. I believe that's correct. Yeah. And the question is why is that the case? I'm not sure that includes things like insurance. I think there's some changes to insurance and accounting and software. So the reason when we came up with the number, we look at what was actually spent towards the end of last year, and if the the aggregate is less, we'll adjust the budget. Vernon, do you know particularly why it went down the mountain? You can stay up here if you want.
Yes. Let me get my. I got it here. To answer your question, Carolyn, is that some of the categories we moved. Okay, we reshuffled, and what we're trying to do is get a better detail on where our money is actually going. So some of it is a portion of reshuffling of where the categories are. And this is just a sample of the total, okay? So that's why it may look like that. What was the question you had on what's in what now? It's accounting software, banking charges, cell phones, dues and subscriptions, internet access, liability insurance, marketing, merchant fees, office administration, office supplies, parking, pastoral search, payroll processing fees, those type of things.
Yes, Rochelle. The question is, what was the total interim pastor budget? And we don't break that out separately from the compensation and benefits. So that would be what we're paying to interim pastor ministries is grouped in with what we're paying for other staff, just like we've done in the past. Oh, Chad, sorry.
Yeah, roughly, I believe we have, it was about $40,000 that we had. When we started the year prior to that, it was roughly about 60 plus. And so with the increase that we had over, and then you had the hit with the rain and some other things that have been going on, that's where we are right now. The ideal, as I said before, is we like to have 2 to 3 months in reserve. So we got to build that back up.
The question that was asked was, how much do we have in cash reserves? Are you willing to share how much is in the bank account right now? Other questions? All right. If there's no other questions, we'll move on to voting orally. We have a slide for that too. Yeah. And so if you're voting in favor of the budget, please raise your hand and say yes. Okay. And if you're voting against, please raise your hand and say no. Okay. All right. We need three no's. So we need 2/3. So I think that's clearly more than 2/3. So the budget for 2025 passes. Now, Pastor Billy was going to come up and close us. We'll stick around afterwards if you'd like to talk one-on-one. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Amen. I want to thank you all for your engagement here today, and I do ask that you would continue to stay engaged with the process. And as God moves us forward, I ask you to come and join us. If you want to be in on what this church look like with the next pastor, then please stay engaged with it. That's the only way you can be a part of this church is stay engaged with us through the whole process. Don't just walk out on the process, but make sure we stay engaged and watch what God is going to do. Okay? Okay? Let us stand and we'll close it with prayer. Thank you all for praying for me today. I ask for your continued prayers. I don't know if you noticed I was a little off today. My, I don't know what you call it, dexterity or whatever. I was a little sick. Got sick on getting on the plane on Tuesday, and hadn't fully recovered yet. After that ride yesterday, still trying to recover. But my wife is here, and she's going to make sure I'm okay before she go anywhere. Okay. Need another tight hug tonight. Okay. All right. It works. Amen. Lord, how we thank you for your assignment that you've given us here today in your forms of ministries. You have blessed us with many different goals that we can achieve throughout this year. And we pray now that you would help us to do it for the glory of God, that the world may be able to know that in this space we're in, that they will know that River of Life stands for the glory of God. And we give you all the praise, all the glory in Jesus' name. Amen.